Hi guys, so I'm finally finishing this piece. It feels like it's been really a long time since I started it, and it's been well over a week, I think, since I really got the line art done and everything. And I don't like having that much of a space in between while I'm working on pieces. I find that when I do that, like in the middle of it, I forget different elements that I had wanted to put in. Like, as I'm doing the line art, I'm always thinking about the color schemes or different effects that I want to have afterwards. Like, I find a lot of times I like to do tattoos afterwards and not in the line art phase, or just the way that the light is reflecting on stuff, or just things like that, details that I think about as I'm planning it out. And when I have this kind of space in between, I oftentimes forget about that. I forget what I had planned or these little elements that I was super excited about doing at first, but then it's been so long that I completely forgot about it, and then it doesn't end up in the final piece. So that's always sad. It's frustrating when I finish it and it's all done, and then I remember I was gonna put that in there, and by that point it's just kind of, it's already done. I don't want to revisit everything again. So yeah, I don't like doing that, but I'm glad that I could finally get back into it. And I think that it turned out pretty close to what I had in mind when I left it. And right here, very briefly, I tried out having this really burnt red color for the cliffs in the background, and then I pulled away from that. But while I was rewatching this video, I really liked the look of that, and so in the end, I went back and I tried a different version out this way, where I changed the rock to be a lot more red. And at the end of this video, I put up a comparison of how the piece finished and then how it looks when I went back and made the rocks much more red. And honestly, I'm not sure which one I prefer. I decided to put both of them up because I'm kind of conflicted. There's several different reasons why I like either one. I find that the version that I stuck with for the most part of this video, where it's a lot more cool and blue toned, it feels a little bit more mystical and misty and mysterious, and that's a mood that I kind of like for this piece. But I found that with more of the red color, it had more of an exciting looking color scheme. It was a lot more interesting to look at, and there was more things that moved your eye around and much more varied. So in the end, I'm not sure which one I'll end up keeping. I think this is one of those times where I'll have to step back for about a day, and then I can come back and look at each one individually and see the impact that they both have and which one I prefer. So yeah, I'm not sure. If you have any comments about that or suggestions, I definitely appreciate it. But for now, I kind of like both of them, so we'll see which one I pick in the long run to be the final version. But I was pretty happy in the end how smoothly the coloring process went for this one. It did seem like the colors kind of went together a little bit easier for me this time, so that was good. I think that I was a little bit more mindful about the actual colors that I was using for the whole piece and how I wanted them to play against each other. In the end, I decided to have her and the boat be a little bit more warmer and the background cooler. So that's one more benefit to having the rocks more of a blue tone, is that it creates this contrast between the foreground elements and the background elements. But that's the way that I ended up doing it, and it just kind of, it helped having that basis to work off of and to build. And when I was in doubt about what color for a particular area on her or the boat, I knew that I could do it a little bit warmer, and that's kind of the structure behind it. So that helped, and I think it made it a little bit more smooth. So as I'm looking back over this, I think that one of the things that I really could have done a lot better is the light source. While I was working on this, I sort of had this idea of where I wanted the light to be coming from, but it really was not specific enough. And when you don't have a very specific light source, it really affects the way that you play shadow. It doesn't look nearly as realistic or believable, and that really affects the whole look of the piece. So by that way, I feel like I definitely didn't do well enough for this. When I was working on it, I kind of had the intention of the light coming from the water. Either that the light was like radiating out of it or bouncing off the top. I wasn't really sure, but I just wanted it to be coming from the water, and I didn't really push that enough. I didn't make the shadows work with that well enough. I didn't light her from underneath well enough, and I feel like that's one of the things that kind of makes this piece a little bit weaker than it could have been. But that's okay. That's one of those things that the more I'm aware of it, the more I can fix it. But having said that, I do feel like what I really like about the lighting is how I had it kind of reflected and refracted around all the rocks, especially in this very cool blue color. I just feel like it looks very mystical, and I like that effect of it. So I think that's something that I'll play around with a lot more, is having this really light reflected kind of a look to it. So that is pretty much it for this piece. I'm gonna go ahead and just show the color scheme that I did in this video, what I ended up doing for that on its own, and then I'll go ahead and show the two different color versions together. I find though that when I'm trying to figure out between two different color schemes and I'm not quite sure, it's best for me to look at them individually. When I try to look at them both together, I find that they influence each other too much, and I need to be able to see them as they stand alone. So yeah, I think as I'm trying to decide how I want to have the finished one, I'll definitely be looking at them individually, but at least for you guys, you can kind of see them together and see how they both ended up. And thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you can catch all the future art videos. And until then, I will see you at my next one. Bye!